Lately, the stock market has been acting wild as of April 2025, and we're going to dive into what's going on. You're listening to the Investing Mastermind Podcast. I'm Michelle Markey.
And I'm Signe and
So, knowing that the markets have been a little haywire lately, a lot of that we suspect is due to the trade war and tariff angst. But what do you think, Sina?
Yes, I definitely, what I'm seeing is that after Trump announced the first tariffs, the market kind of got angst and the stocks went down. But immediately when the tariff pause kicked in, the stock market went straight up. And I just think for me, that's a little bit too optimistic. And so at least that's what I've seen in the past is that once a big announcement comes up and the stock market increases right after, then usually what happens, I can't say usually, but what I've seen in the past is that maybe it went up a little too fast and now we started to see a little bit of a stall, maybe a little bit of a decline. And to be honest, I think we're going to see it decline more because I don't think we're there yet, unless a new big announcement is going to happen. I myself, I'm also actually waiting right now just to see is there going to be some even better offers going on or coming up in the future.
Yeah, and it's really perplexing because as soon as some of the trade war was escalating with China and other countries, that there was going to be all these massive tariffs being laid upon countries, that elicited a strong reaction in many ways. Like it caused the bond markets to react negatively, and the same with the stock market. But then, as soon as it was announced, okay, there's going to be a pause starting April 10, and that's probably going to last for 90 days until about July 10. Then all of a sudden, everything was fine again, and the coast was clear, and everybody jumped back into stocks. But interestingly, mostly it was just institutions that jumped back into the stock market. Most retail investors like you and I didn't really take much action in the beginning of April. So a lot of the swings in the market were just people who are traders and at an institutional level that maybe were getting freaked out, and then we're trying to figure out what's really happening and what are the long-term implications.
Yeah, and that's also what I'm hearing, at least from where I'm at. The private investors are also very nervous right now. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety. People are not investing, they're keeping their money in the bank right now. Unless you are educated about these types of things, you're able to actually know whether a great quality stock is on sale or not. If you don't know, what I see is that private investors, like retail investors, are definitely waiting. So what I also assumed was that it was the institutions that was actually getting into the stock market, and while retail investors are waiting. But recently I read an article. It wasn't necessarily about tariffs, but it was about the situation with Jerome Powell, the chair of Federal Reserve. So Trump has been saying that he wants Jay Powell fired because he hasn't been able to make interest rates go down. So he hasn't adjusted interest rate, and President Trump really wants interest rates to be decreasing. So I read this article, and there was some interviews with some of the institutional investors, and they were saying that they were holding. Right now, they were waiting to see what's going to happen with the Federal Reserve and also actually hedging their positions. And what that means is they're ready to get out. So hedging, they've actually made an insurance policy to be sure that they can exit those positions in case the market is going down. And the reason why institutions are doing that is because they want to see an increase all the time. Because if they don't see an increase, they'll have customers calling them and saying, hey, I asked you to manage my money. My money, I can see there's no increase. I just maybe lost my pension. And now I'm going to actually not have you manage my money anymore. I'm going to try to find another hedge fund to actually manage my money. And that's what a lot of people that are not necessarily knowing what is going on and using these institutions, using these hedge funds to actually invest for them, they would probably try to find another hedge fund manager to do better. And that's why they're hedging. It's because they can have people leave the fund. So what they're doing is that they're going to sell even some of their great quality stocks. They're going to have to exit those positions in case the full stock market starts declining again. And that's actually what they communicated that they're waiting for. So that's a little bit of a different situation, but still tapping into some of that angst that we're seeing right now.
For sure. Yeah. And no wonder some of the big tech stocks have been sliding, and we could see more of that happen. I like your little beverage there, having a nice little treat to yourself in an airport.
Yes, that's right. Everybody who's watching the video can see me. It's actually it looks like wine, but it is the Oracle of Omaha's favorite drink that I'm drinking too. So
Oh, cool.
cheers and Coca-Cola.
Well, speaking of that, maybe we should segue instead of focusing on all the craziness that's happening in the markets and the economy. We don't know what's going to happen there. So, like Signe said, become an educated investor, and what's happening in the markets won't freak you out. So, speaking of Oracle of Omaha, do you want to share something with our audience, Signe?
Yeah, so today it's Tuesday, and this Saturday is the big annual meeting for Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett's company. And as a shareholder, he invites all the shareholders to participate in the general assembly in the annual meeting of Berkshire Hathaway. And I'm going, so I'm looking very much forward to being there in the audience, listening to what he has to say. It's a bit different this year, actually, than it's been in previous years. So the Q&A session during the general meeting is a lot shorter than it used to be. Besides that, everything that goes on outside of the event is still the same, but general meeting is different this year. It's much shorter Q&A session, and the Q&A sessions where the audience, the shareholders can ask questions about Berkshire Hathaway, about the way Warren Buffett manages our company. As shareholders, we own a part of Berkshire Hathaway, so he's going to answer questions from the audience in regards to how he's actually managing that business. But the session is much shorter this year, and you don't have to actually be in the audience to hear what he's got to say. Usually there's a live stream on YouTube as well as on CNBC where you can watch everything that's being said there. So you don't have to be there in the audience.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to tune in over the live stream as well. And Signe, what are you looking forward to most at this year's 2025 Berkshire Hathaway Annual Meeting?
Well, I'm definitely looking very much forward to some of the other events that are happening around the event, because what I've noticed is that Warren Buffett, he can't really answer a lot of the questions clearly anymore. It's maybe because of the market react whenever he's saying something, or whatever reason, he's being very careful. So instead, we have different hedge fund managers that are not afraid to actually share their opinion or invite people who are being open and honest about their opinion. So I know that Warren Buffett is trying to be open and honest, but it's just his words got so much impact. So he can't really say a whole lot. So I'm looking very much forward. So number one is Value X, which is Guy Spears' event, and he's invited. I saw some of the people that are coming to speak this year. I'm very excited to hear those. Some of them have been there in the past as well, and I got a lot of out of what they had to say. So it's like short 15-minute talks from each person and about certain areas. And I'm really looking forward to Value X. I'm also looking forward to Vitaly Katzenelson's Q&A session because he's being very open and honest. Vitaly Katzenelson, he's an author, he's a hedge fund manager, and yeah, being very, very open about what's going on. Also, you can actually subscribe to his newsletters where he's also being very honest about his opinion. Like the last one was a deep dive into Tesla. So definitely recommend subscribing to that newsletter as well as Guy Steele's newsletter where you actually get invited to some of these things as well. And then, oh my gosh, I'm talking. But the last thing I'm looking very much forward to is more of a social event. It's Matthew Peterson's, I wouldn't say it's a barbecue anymore because now he used to do a barbecue outdoor barbecue, but now he's moved it inside. But it's such a great event. And there's always a lot of people coming to that event that I've met in the past. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And if you see me at any of those events, feel free to come up and say hi. There was actually last year I was talking to Adam Mead. And then this guy came up, and I was certain he was going to want to talk to Adam Mead, who's also very famous within this community as well. And so I was saying, oh, go ahead, you can speak to Adam. And it was actually a listener from the podcast who said, oh, no, I want to talk to you. And I was like, oh, wonderful. So feel free to come up and say hi if you see me.
That's awesome, Signe. Between all those events, I will miss them too. I used to attend them as well. I can't go this year, but I think if any investors are attending any of these also incredible events that you're going to, Signe, you're bound to have an amazing time and learn a lot, because a lot of these investors pay it forward and they just want to help you as an investor become a better investor. So in the spirit of Warren Buffett and the late Charlie Munger, they want all of us to be able to be good investors and be able to provide for our families and help each other to achieve our financial dreams. So I think it's going to be amazing. And I'm looking forward to still learning from Buffett and also getting the down low from you, Signe, and what you take away from the Value X and Vitali's breakfast event and Matthew's indoor barbecue event. So I hope you have a wonderful time, and I'm sure we'll talk about what we learned from the meeting in future podcast episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll definitely also share what I hear from my mentors, from the people that I meet at the meeting, all the talks behind the scene that's actually going on. I'll make sure to also share that on the podcast here so everybody is aware of what is going on in the investment community.
For sure.
So we're coming towards the end of this episode today, but we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Till next time.
If you enjoyed the show and found the content informational, we would be super grateful if you would leave us a review and follow us wherever you get your podcasts so you automatically get new episodes in your feed. We publish a new show every Tuesday.
The contents of the Investing Mastermind podcast are for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. None of this is investing advice, and if you need help in your personal situation, please consult with a professional.